Staying with us. Now, today, the 27th of March, marks the official day for the observation of the 2021 Earth Hour. Taking place at 8 p.m., this is the time when millions of citizens around the world switch off their lights to honor the annual environmental campaign that highlights the effects of climate change. Candide gardening is using this window as an opportunity to bring awareness on the negative effects that artificial light at night has on our nocturnal pollinators. And to speak to us more about this, we are joined via Zoom by Dr. Sandy-Lynne Steenhuizen. Dr. Sandy-Lynne Steenhuizen, a very good morning to you. Thanks for joining us. Welcome to Morning Live.
A very good morning to you. Thank you for having me.
Now, for the benefit of our viewers, just speak to us about what Earth Hour is and why it's so important.
Earth Hour is basically a time that everyone can reflect on the dangers of the human population and what we are introducing in terms of artificial light and invasive species and pesticides into the environment in a negative way. And to just be cognizant of nature around us, how we are affecting it and how we can help and protect it.
All right, now speak to us about what artificial light at night is.
So artificial light at night is basically the flick of a switch. Any light that you have around your house, business, in the town, that could be affecting our pollinators, our insects, animals that are active at night in our gardens and in nature around us.
Yeah, and now take us through how you will be using this 60 minutes tonight to bring awareness on artificial lighting and nocturnal pollinators.
Basically sitting in my garden, looking at the stars and reflecting on the beauty of nature and how light is polluting our experience of nature. We can't see the stars when all the lights are on in a town or city. And a lot of our animals are negatively affected by artificial light affecting how they see. They are very sensitive to light. If they are active at night, they have evolved for a long time to navigate without any source of artificial light, but just by using the moon and the stars. So having all these lights on is like having a lot of artificial moons around. It's confusing. And yeah, we've all seen it where insects will circle around a lamp until their death. So it is having a huge impact. And yeah, light emissions around the world have increased by about 70% over the last 20 years, an average of 6% a year. And it's negatively affected our pollinators by about 60% sometimes for some plants where their fruit set and everything is reduced.
And you say that artificial light at night is a driver of pollinator decline. Speak to us more about this.
Absolutely. So if pollinators that are flying at night, and they're excellent navigators at night, just using the moon and stars, very little light, if their navigation is disrupted, so misguided by artificial light, they're not going to reach the plants that they want to pollinate. Those plants, then their fruit set is going to go down. They're not going to set as many seeds. The population number is going to go down, and that negatively affects then the food plants that are available for those pollinators in future, as well as the diurnal, the day-flying pollinators that are dependent on those plants as well, because if the nighttime pollinators are affected, fruit sets affected, it's a knock-on effect for all the others that are flying around during the day, like bees and things. So, yeah, no, our pollinators are really affected by lights in terms of also predation. If our moths and mice that pollinate a lot of flowers in South Africa are active at night and there are lights around, they are more visible to owls and bats and other carnivore predators that are going to eat them. So it really does disrupt their rhythms and their visibility and their safety.
And in a recent study in Nature, ecologists showed that plants growing near streetlights were actually pollinated far less often at night. Your thoughts?
Yes, absolutely. So just as I mentioned that insects that are active at night, if they're attracted to lights, thinking it's the moon or navigating in that way, they're just going to circulate these lights and be drawn away from the plants that are dependent on these pollinators being active at night. And so they're not going to get pollinated as much, and they'll set less seeds, and it has a knock-on effect then for the plant population and the pollinators as a whole.
And you go on to say that artificial light at night is the easiest pollution to stop. How so?
Absolutely. I mean, it's a flick of a switch. So try and switch off a lot of lights outside that are not needed. Obviously, for safety, switch to motion sensor lights. So they only come on when there's motion. And so the rest of the time when it's all safe, there's no light for them to be confused by. And so only using lights when they're needed. Switching to lights that shine down and not up and polluting the night sky, the dark sky. Another way is also to switch to lights that have more yellow or orange or green colors, because blues and whites and very modern LEDs are also quite harmful. So switching to other colors that are more benign would be kinder to our pollinators.
And what do these negative effects that artificial light have on our nocturnal pollinators?
So negative effects, definitely just confusing them, misguiding them, messing with their navigation. They have evolved to navigate by only a couple of photons, basically, of light. And some of them can navigate in pitch black darkness. And so any light is going to be confusing to them. It messes up with their circadian rhythm, so just their natural day and night rhythm. And also sometimes then they are active when the plants are not flowering, or the plants are flowering when the insects are not active. It messes up the whole synchronism, basically, between plant flowering and pollinators.
And how can people take part in your awareness campaign tonight?
Definitely by observing Earth Hour at 8 o'clock, switching off all lights for an hour, and just being cognizant of nature around you and how much light there is around and how much we can reduce it by. Take part in movements such as Candide. Download the app. I downloaded it yesterday. It's a lovely little app with people around South Africa basically taking note of flowering plants in their garden and how important they are for our pollinators, and sharing that knowledge. And they're using that knowledge to basically map bee-friendly, pollinator-friendly plants around South Africa.
All right, Dr. Steenhuizen, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Do have a great day. Joining us there is Dr. Sandy-Lynne Steenhuizen, and she's been speaking to us about how they'll be using tonight's Earth Hour to bring awareness to the negative effects of artificial light at night on our nocturnal pollinators.